Chemical City Double Reeds is a full-service double reed shop specializing in the sale of instruments, cane, accessories, and sheet music. Double Reed Dish listeners can enjoy free shipping with code DRDISH, all caps, no spaces. Visit them in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or online at chemicalcityreeds.com.
Founded by Logan Esterling, Reed Design is pushing the boundaries of oboe and English horn reed making. They take the knowledge they've collected from hundreds of reeds and, with the power of machine learning, derive patterns and trends that accurately predict the characteristics of finished reeds while early in the sorting process. The result is quality reeds with characteristics you can count on. Using their products will save you valuable time and let you get back to what you love, making music. Visit www.reeddesign.io to learn more. That's REEDESIGN.io.
Hi, I'm Galit Kaunitz.
And I'm Jackie Wilson, and you're listening to Double Reed Dish,
a podcast for oboists,
bassoonists,
and the people who love them.
I feel like it's been years since I've talked to you.
Yeah, for sure. It's that part of the semester, like October, I just feel is like so saturated with events. I compare it to like spinning plates, and I just feel like I'm running from one plate to the next, but I'm not like totally like connecting with any of them. It's like, okay, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Like, we always have the podcast, obviously. Right now I'm gearing up to go to the Midwest Double Reed Society Double Reed Day, where I'm the guest for that, which I'm super excited about. But for some reason, and they let me choose whatever I wanted to play. They did not say, please play this piece. They were like, what do you want to play? Anything. And I was like, how about I choose a super hard piece that I've never performed before during one of the more busy, saturated semesters. And so I'm trying to get that ready to go. And then I'm, as you know, on the executive board for Meg Quigley, and the symposium is coming up at the beginning of January, which might as well be tomorrow. I'm running a silent auction for work to raise scholarships, and that's not the only stuff going on, but it does feel like right now it's like, okay, do 20 minutes of silent auction stuff, then edit an interview for 20 minutes, and then go do Meg Quigley stuff for 20 minutes, do a run through of it's the Libby Larsen concert piece for any of the bassoonists who are interested. Why? I just say, go, Libby, why? Libby? Why? But anyway, yes, back to your point. I feel completely like I'm getting behind on texts and emails and connecting, if that makes sense. Like even when I respond, I'm like, connect, be authentic, put your mind, be present, I guess, in the moment. And yeah, if you can't tell by my word vomit in response to your single sentence, agreed. Well, how are you?
I don't want you to take all of that on yourself, because I also feel like that, like running around and just trying to survive. And I'm like, I'll think about it and be like, I haven't texted Jackie in like 5 days. I hope she's okay. She wouldn't be okay if I wasn't texting you constantly, but it's not my usual MO.
True. And well, and the other day, because the listeners wouldn't know this, but it's kind of our tradition that several times a week I will drive to work recording a voice memo to you. And you'll just like wake up or whatever, do like 5-minute me rambling. And like I went to do one the other day, and then I was like, I don't really have anything to say. Like my days are just marching through my to-do list. And then tomorrow I try to get through everything on the list. And the next day, like there's not like, you know what happened? I read the most amazing poem and it inspired me to write a poem. And then I painted a picture of the sky. Like that's just not how things are right now. And so, you know, I was like, I don't have anything to say.
All it would be is just straight complaining.
Right. Right.
Just like one long scream.
Ah. I'm a person who's completely like driven by head pads. So every time I get a silent auction donation, I like send a text to my friend who's also on the committee and I'm like, silent auction donation. I got a silent auction. Oh, I got Pullman CrossFit to donate 1 month of membership. And I can tell like
Nice.
they are like, yeah, okay, here's like your 20th text asking for a head pad. And I'm like, please, it's the only thing keeping me held on right now.
I need external
Tell me
validation.
I'm doing a good job.
Can you imagine me in a CrossFit gym? I'd be like, this is really heavy.
And what's interesting is I'm not like really stressed. I'm just busy. If that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like
Yeah.
I've just got a lot of things on my plate, but I'm not like, oh, I'm overwhelmed by them. I don't know how it's all gonna get done. It's just kind of like, yep, it's October.
Hmm.
This, then do
Hmm.
this. Now it's time for this. Go do it.
So we're not dishing about how busy we are.
Well, apparently we are, but
Nope. A topic has come up recently in both of our lives, and we thought it would be a good jumping off point for a conversation. Based on how we're feeling, I assume that a bunch of other people are feeling like this too.
yeah, I got basically solicited for advice over the past couple of weeks of like, Jackie, you're someone who wears a lot of hats. At what point do you start to figure out when to say no to things? Can I have your thoughts on that? And I was like, oh, I should have some thoughts on that.
What is this word? No. How is it pronounced? Am I
No.
doing it right?
Yeah, it seems simple, but it's quite complex. Um, and we got a lot of positive feedback about our dish about burnout, which you and I were kind of reluctant to do because it was vulnerable and
Mhm.
honest. And so I thought this could be an opportunity to talk about, yeah, when to say no, personal capacity.
Mhm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts? How is this topic weighing on your heart?
Oh boy, it's weighing on my heart really heavily lately. I've had to have some really hard conversations with my students over the last week.
Hmm.
And I'm having to implement boundaries that I always knew that I needed, but have been reluctant
Hmm.
to pull the trigger on. And of course, I'm not going to name people or talk about any specific situations, but I'm a little bit shocked at how heavily it's hitting me to have
Hmm.
to implement these boundaries. And like I feel heavy and heartbroken about it. And that kind of my relationship to my teaching style has to change a little bit.
Hmm.
And I was talking to my wonderful colleague Kim Woolley. She's very experienced. And she was saying, well, are you sure it isn't you that's changed? And I was thinking about that and I was like, well, when I started in this job, I was 31 and now I'm 38. And the person I was at 31 was very different.
Well, and this is such a, like, it's seen as a pejorative term, but I don't mean it that way. You were kind of green
I was so green.
it was year
I
two
was so green.
of higher ed. And
Yeah.
I agree with Kim. Now you are so many more years in and you're more seasoned and yeah, probably just have a whole lot of different depth of thought based
Hmm.
on your experience at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. I think what I expect has changed and it just kind of all hit me at one time. And having those conversations was really difficult.
Hmm.
So yeah, for me, the boundary lies in in my teaching and what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not willing to accept. Not necessarily like external opportunities, but more how do I maintain myself? Like, how do I maintain control of who I am and what I do within that capacity, while also giving my students what they need, if that makes sense.
So you were kind of feeling the limits of your emotional
Yeah.
and personal capacity
Yeah. Yes.
as a teacher, like
Yes.
recently.
Yeah. And you've been warning me for a long time that that's coming. You have been sounding the alarm for a long time.
I will abstain from comment at this time. Which, granted, was not because I'm like some, fortune teller, but I had gone down that path as well. I won't speak for you, but for me, I had a lack of boundaries, that resulted in me just kind of feeling, in some cases, taken advantage of, but for me, never like I was off the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of, in terms of access on both ends to
Mm-hmm.
me and my students. And but we're also very different people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot more introverted. I need battery recharge time in a way that I don't know all people really need to the same extent. But yeah, I have really felt the difference in examining how I relate or communicate
Mm-hmm.
with my students. And for me, putting up boundaries has been a more sustainable path forward.
Yeah. And I'm doing it. I feel like I am maturing and growing up professionally.
It's kind of a different way of saying no. Like, not
Yeah.
no, I won't do this, but no, this way doesn't work for me
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting to have this conversation with the interview coming up.
Uh-huh.
Mor is someone who had to kind of like devastatingly step back and say,
Mm-hmm.
no, this isn't working for me anymore. I need to make
Mm-hmm.
a major life adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one that I bet from the outside looking in is still very hard for many musicians to understand, you know?
Yeah. What about you? What does this topic bring up for you?
Well, you know, when I was talking with this colleague about this topic, it really was kind of more about what we heap onto our plate.
Mm-hmm.
The scarcity mindset of feeling like you always have to say yes because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't, maybe they won't ask again. Or the shame of feeling no, feeling like there's not an option to say no,
Mm-hmm.
but and many times not realizing that you've said yes too much until the train is down the tracks and you
Mm-hmm.
have no option but seeing these obligations through.
Been there too many times.
Right. And so I kind of felt hypocritical in giving advice because it's like I don't totally feel like I've learned this lesson. I'll be really honest, at the end of this summer was a very difficult time for me in terms of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I taught at that summer music program, IDRS, and I had the performance with Raven. And it was all good things, all things that I'm not surprised that when it was, Jackie, will you do X? I said, yes, of course I'll do X. How fabulous. But for it to be just like one right after the other, and to not have the downtime in the summer, I realized too late that I had said yes to way too many things and just kind of had a real moment of feeling truly overwhelmed. The other thing I'm trying to keep in mind that is kind of a lesson I'm having to learn the hard way is around the spring, typically, is when we'll start to think about the next academic year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I'm going to travel somewhere, where am I going to travel? If I'm going to do school visits, this, that, and the other. And I usually will be like, okay, here's what I think I can do. And then inevitably other stuff comes up. And what I've learned is I think I need to start planning for next year's thing, assuming and creating space for things to come up. Because where I've really had to like worry about capacity or feel like I'm not hitting everything is when, well, I didn't think that, I'd get invited to do that thing or this thing would come up. And oh man, okay, okay, so just kind of like not putting everything on the plate because it looks good and trusting that I will continue to have opportunities. Like I said, I haven't been struggling with feelings of overwhelm as of late, but this at the end of summer, I really, really was. I've tried to keep that in mind going forward, but it's something I'm hearing from friends and colleagues that is just really at the forefront of their brain.
Yeah, and something that I've experienced too, when you set boundaries, when you say no, you often have to do it more than once,
Yes.
more than twice. You have to like just, it's so hard to do it, and then you have to do it again, and then you have to do it again.
Well, and here's the hard part about saying no, that is kind of the unspoken part is what you're going to disappoint people.
Yeah,
People are going to be disappointed by you saying
there
no.
will be pushback to what, the boundary that you're communicating.
Many times, yeah. And for many of us, it's very hard to disappoint people, especially if you love them or respect them or
Mhm.
want them to love and respect you. That
Exactly.
it can be
Exactly.
so hard.
Yep. So
Mm.
if you're out there feeling any part of this, we have so much love and compassion for you.
Yeah, we don't have all the answers. Maybe this was just
Yeah.
kind of like fireside chat bonding time, so you don't feel alone. But sorry, we don't have all the answers.
If you're going through a rough time, we understand and we're here with you.
Specializing in the finest assortment of oboes, clarinets, bassoons, and their accessories, RDG Woodwinds serves musicians around the world. Their employees are all professional musicians who have a deep knowledge of the products that they sell. RDG's repair shop has an international reputation with a combined 100 plus years of service among the 5 repair technicians. Plain and simple, RDG provides excellent products and fabulous customer service. Visit them at rdgwoodwinds.com. They look forward to working with you. Consider buying your processed oboe and bassoon cane from those friendly folks over at Barton Cane. Processed with care and precision for your everyday reed-making needs. Take the pain and injury out of reed-making by letting Barton Cane do the hard, repetitive, boring stuff. Free up time for practicing, happy hours, hikes, baking, and spending time with friends and family. Barton Cane, here for you. Visit www.bartoncane.com. We are so excited to welcome to Double Reed Dish Mor Biron, bassoonist. Welcome.
Hi, thank you very much.
We love to begin by asking our guests how they came to play their instrument. So could you tell us how you got started on the bassoon?
Yeah, of course. Bassoon, I started around the age of 11. Before that, I played cello since I was 4 years old.
Wow.
And of course, like every child in Israel back then, a flute recorder. I'm coming from a musical family. At least my father is Mor Biron is the founder and conductor of the Israel Camerata, and he was a flutist himself. And since I can remember myself, I sat next to him, and when my feet didn't even reach the ground, and saw scores and stuff, and heard music along him, and learning the cello. I think I have a nice photo of playing a vacuum cleaner with a baton. Yeah, that's how my parents said, it might be a little bit like someone look a little bit like a cello. So, and I did
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah, it's really funny. So, and around the age of 11, 10, 11 was my first sabbatical in my life, where I stopped the cello and kind of, I guess I looked for the next thing. And I remember at that point that I played, I was playing at home, playing around with the bass flute. My mom, as a young musician, she won a competition and got all of the series of the flutes from recorders. I mean, block flute. So from soprano, alt tenor, bass, and I somehow found the big tube nicer, and later I realized it looks a little bit like bassoon. Not really with the full knowledge of that. And I remember my father was conducting, or was my father's orchestra playing the Strauss's Duo Concertino.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there, and I think I somehow got attracted to that. And I asked, what is this? This I want. This thing there would be interesting. And my parents didn't think a lot. They just got in touch with a conservatory in Rehovot, where I was born in Israel. And the instrument got home, and I started. I didn't really knew anything about it. Didn't know anything about it before.
So can you talk us through getting serious about the bassoon and deciding it's what you wanted to pursue professionally?
I can, but I can also say that until today, I don't know if I'm doing it seriously or want to do it seriously or professionally. I mean, the whole aspect of professionally, I guess maybe we will be touching it later. I never thought in terms of career and job. Maybe it's bad. Maybe I should. But it was something that I was attracted to since very young age, and my inner voice in me led me to do the next thing about it, and made me even take decisions which until today I didn't know where did they come from, but they turned to be right for me. I guess that in the music I always felt that I know more or less the range of movement, and I know where their general direction. Of course, along the way, I remember, for example, sitting in a studio in Jerusalem, checking out the mics and doing sound check, and the soundman, he just forgot to take the finger from the mic, and it was open, and he asked my father in the control room, so playing bassoon he can do, what will he make money from in the rest of his life? And along the way I remember me thinking about the fact, what if all of this doesn't gonna happen, you know? Mm-hmm. And I guess it made me go for it more, going for it. And I was studying I finished my studies in Jerusalem in the Jerusalem Academy for Music and Dance, and then I had a year, and then just came to studies in Berlin in the Hans Eisler Hochschule für Musik and at the Kara Academy, and from there things happened. But I took myself seriously. I don't know, in a non-serious way, but I took myself seriously.
Right.
It's really inspiring. I know a lot of people have that question, how am I going to make money doing this? Am I going to be okay? Is my future going to be okay? And your response to that question was, I'm going to make it okay.
This is what I'm trying to do today. Seriously, this is the only thing that keeps me going and keeps us smiling and doing the things we love. Of course, we have to do so many things around. Mm-hmm. I wish, for example, that I would learn more about what does it mean being an artist? What does it mean dealing with incomes, outcomes. How much do I give in order to get? How much do I get in order to be able to keep giving time and effort, and not even talking about reads and things and everything, and bringing the fact that we bring ourselves on stage again and again. And does it get is this feeling getting used to, or getting old, or getting, how to say, like rough? Or is it always something that I expecting to, and want to learn new music and performance, and this is what always keeps me going with that, and it's still fun. That's why I do it. When it stops being fun, I finish.
Do you find that is your reason to keep going? Is that it's the thing that engages you and is fun?
Among others, yeah, it is fun because it's music, and I learn how to enjoy that from very young age, and I have to thank my immediate surroundings, my family, for that. And I do feel that it's a way of expression which I don't have otherwise. Expressing my feelings and expressing for myself, just to understand myself and to understand my borders and limits, and how deep, how high, how right, is it left, is it so it is my own therapy in a way.
Before we get into your professional life, as a student, you studied with Klaus Tuneman, who is a renowned bassoon pedagogue. Could we hear a bit about your experience with him and what he's like as a teacher?
Klaus is a father. He's kind of a father for all of his students. In his 85th birthday, which was a few months ago, just before the summer, sorry, we met in Hanover, and there was I think we were around 80 bassoonist students from all over the world, because just 80 could come. I think the list had like 171 or 2 people, but just the most clear feeling for me was that he feels like we are his children, and each one of us feels like he has a father figure in our life. And Klaus was, for example, I knew him from CDs with Mariner and with Heinz Holliger and Maurice Burg and name it. And from the first moment I started my first lesson, I never felt afraid or whoa, this is really big, I need to know how to deal with it. He was talking to me immediately, to all of us, very straightforward, sometimes too straightforward, but he was a teacher that knows what to do if you give him a lot. If you offer your musical way, if you offer your articulation, your sound, your myself not knowing what to do, then he helps. But just trying to make the teacher happy, you wouldn't buy it.
Right.
You know? Every lesson started when I'm putting the instrument together. We sit on the piano and play some jazz and some blues things until I'm getting ready. Yeah, and it's something in older age I loved about him, how good he could improvise, and comes from jazz and rock, and in his early years.
Could you walk us through your training and educational journey? You've already kind of walked us through, but then more of your professional journey and evolution, and how you've gotten to where you are today.
I think the most important thing is our surrounding. It means together with my surroundings, in each point in my life and each point during the day, when it has a meaning, if not even tells me what am I and who am I. Because I cannot separate myself from where I am. So I do feel that along those years, since I was a child and later, I have changed a lot because of the surroundings. So I in art school, I got blown away from the possibilities of what happens when artists meet, in high school, and my first taste of maybe real professionalism was when I went to the university and started to winning a little bit competitions, playing solo with the Berlin Philharmonic and Jerusalem Camerata, and I always saw my father preparing season after season after season for 40 years.
Wow.
and training and working with musicians and performing and conducting himself and teaching flute and teaching conducting in the academy and everywhere. So this gives me a lot of reference. Maybe a bigger teacher will be my father, because he was there the most of my years. Mm-hmm. I remember recording with Shai Vosner, who is a wonderful pianist. He's now teaching in Julia, but he's a wonderful pianist. And in the recording, he asked me, "When are you going to Berlin?" It was just before I moved, and I told him there is an audition at the Karajan Academy, and he said, "Okay, we're not recording until you change your flight. We're not rehearsing. I'm not playing with you," because I was skeptical, and he really pushed me. And I have few people in those years that gave me, no way back. You just go and gave some help. And coming to Berlin, I met Klaus, I met Daniele Damiano, which was my teacher at the academy, and later my colleagues. And I had something like 4 or 5 teachers at the same time, 2 for contra and 3 for bassoon.
Wow.
The head was I didn't really know what everybody asks. So I asked myself, what do I want? And sometimes sometimes I got hit by teachers, of course not physically, but it got to places where it's not what they expect, but it was fine. It was part of I never felt that I'm in a wrong course. And there was one point when I felt that after my academy time, that I just want to try an audition, and then I won the audition in Spain, in Valencia, in the new opera with Lorin Mazel and Zoe Mehta at that time. It was a wonderful experience. And later the Munich opera, and then a few months later I got to Berlin. It was very important for me to go out of Berlin and go into Berlin, because I think my relationship with Berlin is interesting. It's not always pink, and it's not always dark. I learned to like the city, and like everything in life, I guess the more I spend time in one surrounding, I get to get the real perspective of where is it, what good things, bad things. And after so many years in the orchestra, which gave me all of maybe so much of what I am today, I also decided that at one point it's a thing I can move on from, and who knows.
We want to dig into that journey a little bit more, but I'd love to start with um, auditioning in general. Eventually, you started to analyze, like you said, where you were and where you wanted to be. And but when you were initially embarking on these opportunities, you've won some very competitive positions. And I would be interested in your process and how you prepared for auditions and a bit about that time in your life and what you think helped make you successful in that process.
Mhm. It's a good question. Of course, there are many aspects or many answers for your good question. I'll try to go into my head when I was studying, and I felt maybe the time runs out in here, and I have my contract at the academy for maybe 6 more months, and there was never someone who pushes me to do things. The teacher doesn't. I don't really believe in that. There's not. I can ask my students to go offer them competitions, concerts, conventions, auditions, whatever, abbreviations that you want. But if they want to do it themselves, this would make the difference. And at one point, I looked for a place where I can just try my skill, and can imagine also playing, because I do think that it is important to make an audition in a place you want to play. And I waited quite a long time with it. Around me, I have friends who made also 70 auditions. Somehow I aimed high for me, and it was hard. It was important for me to aim high. I remember sitting with a friend, and he told me, when I was very young, Mor, there's Munich Philharmonic, solo bassoon. Why shouldn't do it? I said, come on, it's Munich Philharmonic. What am I, like small student from? And of course, calculating now, anyone can sign in, and anyone can win. Then, of course, there's the portfolio of the audition, and there's what's my personal portfolio when I come and play. I always found the audition process super interesting, very interesting of how things are happening. And I'm lucky to always being able to taking it lightly, in a way. My audition to Lorin Mazel was at 9 a.m. in Milano. It was so cold in February. Of course, nothing is gonna work. Nothing. But for him as well, he just woke up to hear bassoon in the morning. I mean, it's not even, I think his stuff is more than me. So there's not so much, I can play with it.
It's not as serious.
He was serious.
Oh.
He was a serious person. But it's all a game. I mean, it's really important to know that all a one big game, and some people play the game a bit more seriously. And then I had an audition where I went into the room, the pianist sits, and then I see a black wall, and then she starts. Okay, I thought let's play some rehearsal. Bam, when I play, and I turn around to her, and she doesn't look at me. She's playing music, and I play. I don't need it, but okay, I'm ready to play. And then I'm realizing while playing, that's the black screen. I am actually now playing the audition.
Oh,
You
and the
didn't even know?
orchestra is just behind me, and it felt so ridiculous. And I went, really? It's like playing to myself at home. Leave the accord. Now let's go to the end like that. It's not a problem.
uh-huh.
And I somehow I guess it set on my musical assurance that I have for myself, and knowledge that I always try to absorb into my soul. Not to get stressed from that, but to play the game as it goes. I did 2 auditions to the Berlin Philharmonic. In the first one, we got to the final, and I played not good for me. My knees were shaking. I was looking down on and saying to myself, I seriously, I cannot play like that. It really doesn't help me, and I try, but. And the second time, the preparing to the audition was much more mental and more feeling the body. I got to the stage. Oh, knees, the right knee is in place, the left knee is in the place. Nobody's shaking. Okay, we can get down to making music. Yeah, I think it's a very, of course. Later in my life, I practiced yoga for many years, and I started reading with very good friends, very close friends, and dear people to me. Get to speak with them also about Buddhism, and at one point met Alan Watts on YouTube. And read some of his books as well, and this is, I think, really gave me another angle about being a human being a professional, being a musician, being an artist, and how many things of those connecting dots are being taken sometimes too seriously, or just have big titles, but they mean something else. They mean love, and they mean fear, and they mean pressure, and they mean disappointment, and they mean excitement. And you feel it here, or you feel it here, or you feel it in your knees, or you feel it here, or I'm tired, and the connection with the body and the mind, and the fact that we play wind instrument, taking air, breathing in, breathing out, I mean, really helps me to get the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to do. I don't think I have it, but to have a complete picture of myself doing that thing.
That's really fascinating. I love that connection, especially as a wind instrument player. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're so reliant on the body doing what it's supposed to do.
It's funny, even that you say we're relying on the body to do so we can do what we do. We are the body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like to pull myself away from it. Like, this is me and this is my body.
It's my hand. It's not my hand. It's me moving here, you know? Yeah, and then I also the expectation of me, oh my God, what happens if me is going to do a failure? It's not me that makes right decision and a wrong decision, or makes it right or makes it wrong. It's just sometimes it goes this way, and it applies going the other way. That applies going to the third way, and then to the fourth way. And this is what I meant. It's for me, breathing in is breathing everything in. Also, when people are trying to scare me in an audition, or trying to show me love when they're just sitting in the audience and want to hear some nice music, and I feel scared, that you take in. And one conductor said once a very nice phrase, just in your first tone, give the air, and let the tone start, get birth into the world, and then release it a little bit to see what next. So never, and it's something that I also when go to a new place, you don't open the door and you walk in. You walk in, calm, assertive, and continue from there.
Oh, I love that so much. So, what can you talk us through the day that you won your position in the Berlin Philharmonic? How were you feeling, and what was it like to start in that job?
Yeah, I think it was end of April, around 26, 27. And it was a long process. It started in the morning, and there were 3 stages, and we were like, in the end, around 4 or 5 finalists. Very good people, good friends. And after the audition, I had to have time alone. And I was not as connected to myself as today. I just needed time alone to realize what I wanted, because I really remember myself sitting with my father in bed before I go to my bed at 12 at night when I was 9. I don't know, when I was really young, maybe a bit older, and watching on at the end of the day concerts with Claudia Abbado at the Philharmonic, and you see Hans-Jürgen Schellenberger and you see Stefan Schweiger, my colleagues. And I knew them from TV, and I remember the stream of thought that just wanted, I want 12 seconds to play there, just to feel how it is. And the fact that I wanted that and didn't say, "Ooh, it must be scary to play there," I just wanted to put myself there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the first initiation for this dream, because it was a dream completely to play in the Berlin Philharmonic, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, along all the way, that was the place I really wanted to get to. But I remember after taking time for myself in the room or walking outside, I really realized that the dream it's happening. It's going to happen now. A few arrangements, and I went to meet very good friends who live here in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And I waited with my first call to my father and to my friends as long as I could. And I think he was the first one who I talked with, and then of course with my mom, and they were thrilled, and until today they were super supportive and loving about anything I do, of course, and I love them back for that. It's I got a lot of power from that. And then after a few months, I started in September, and then we have 2 years, so-called 2 years Probezeit, trial.
Mm-hmm.
If it's clear, it's clear. If not, it takes some more time. My trial was around 10 months, I think. I guess they were fine with it, fine enough. But I did feel, of course, I don't think anybody pressured me, but I felt my pressure from my side. And the pressure was, okay, now the audition was, this is my level. Now I need to play for 2 years this level.
Right.
I didn't even think about that.
Right.
What have I done to myself? Winning the job completely and getting the approval for the tenure, I thought to myself, now after like a year of trying really to get it always right, now I need to deliver that for the rest of my life. But of course, it's we get used to it. The more we do something, the more we come back to it, the more we practice it. It just happens. If this was the surroundings I spent so much time, it made everything get into place. And
So
I
it
didn't
didn't
know where
feel-
I was going. No, after a while. And of course, many people talk about the stress and about, every week, 2 concerts live but it's fun. It's fun. It's you get a good level, and of course it's sometimes some things are stress, but I don't think that anyone stays with so much stress for such a long time.
Yeah, it normalizes,
Yeah.
I would guess. This is a big question, but can you expand more on your experience doing that job? Like you said, kind of getting acclimated to the expectations. Also, you're making this fantastic music. I would guess that was extremely cool to be able to have those musical experiences. And then eventually you start to maybe think this isn't what you want to do forever. And you make the decision to leave. So I know it's a big question, but could you talk to us about that experience being in the Berlin Phil?
Of course, I have too many experiences to even start.
Right.
I try to number them down, but I have a lot of friends there. I met unbelievably interesting people for a long time. Sometimes we spend much more time between ourselves than with our families on tour, and and I try to always listen and to be affected in one way or another from different styles and different approaches, and to see with the ear where is the kind of the conductor in me, when not because I want to become a conductor, because it's an orchestra that plays alone. It doesn't need a good or bad conductor. With a good conductor, it plays wonderful. With a bad conductor, it plays just perfect. It just plays just perfect. We just disconnect and play. I know what Brahms' third and Berlioz means to me. And sometimes it's hard for the conductor, for any kind of conductor, to give their input, because we offer a lot. But it's also good if you know how to, of course, turn it over and use it for the sake of the whole concert. So I learned a lot and developed a lot also with my instrument and picking instruments and of course reeds and all of that. The approach to, I remember once there was a solo comes in like 3, 2, 1, and there was a process in my mind that wanted maybe to get detached from the usual, from the young Mor, which was I want other people to give me nice compliments for how I play.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment, I realized it takes a millisecond. But I said, no, I just want to play how I want to hear that. And the rest is not important. It doesn't matter that I'm sitting on the stage in the Philharmonic in the evening and I'm live now. And I have wonderful colleagues, male and female, just around me. And I want all of them to say, in the end of the day, touch my shoulder and say, wow, wonderful solo. But not. I want to experience the solo and the music as I want, and this is for me also a point where I let my inner voice just go out before me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, nothing. The sky didn't fall, and I think so. It also was fine. I don't know, 4 days something. I don't know. And after a while, yeah, it's hard for me to draw a straight line. I guess I felt in the last years that I got into a place where I go and play, and I get to a very efficient place. And I love teaching. I love playing chamber music, sometimes solos with the orchestra a lot. And although I'm running on the bike, from place to place, I more or less found a balance of how to deliver, and of course in my level, and I think I was looking for more creation myself.
Mm.
It's not that I still have an answer for me, but I took myself the liberty of taking it as another sabbatical, a second sabbatical of my life, and traveled, and then Corona came, and all of you came into the sabbatical with me. It was like half a year before all of the Corona already free. And coming back to the orchestra after 1 year, of course, it was still under the Corona restrictions, and I sat 3 meters from Daniele playing Beethoven Symphony. Who's playing? I don't hear anything. But it took 8 seconds for me to realize that I know how to do it. I feel at home, not more than that. And I think I realized that if I don't, for myself, because of my personality, if I do 2 things or 3 things at the same time, I will get drawn into the most busiest issue or part. And I just before 40, I let myself be a child again. I don't know. Try to see. Yeah, try to see where else can I come with that. I'm do here, but it should be here around the heart. With the musical and ambitions and personal place.
Was that a hard decision? Because you spoke about getting to know yourself more, and I could see this decision being something that was clear from listening to oneself. I could also see it being like, this was my dream. This is probably every classical musician's dream. I got it. I'm thinking about giving it up. Am I crazy? People will think I'm crazy. And I could see there being potentially a lot of conflict or clarity. Did that decision take a while, or talk to us about that decision.
You put it so beautifully, just all of the above. Really. If it took a while, my girlfriend says, it took me a second and all of my life to decide. It's an instinct, but well thought through. And then you realize it's an instinct, you cannot think it through. Of course, this is why I checked what is more without the orchestra for me. In the sabbatical, after many years, I took a backpack and traveled to Thailand, met friend, and then to Israel. I was supposed to be actually performing 8 solo concerts in Israel, and on the connection from Thailand, a week before, my father told me, all canceled. Corona started around March. 2020. And in a way, I'm happy because it didn't leave me all on the, a little bit with some touch to music and to the normal life. It took us even harder, like up above the picture, stronger. But there was, I realized when I spoke, when I talked, for example, a friend of mine, I got, I don't remember if it was now, doesn't matter. When I said to a friend, I started the sabbatical, he said, for me, how I see you now, you already had to have it like 2 years ago. You should be up. I always have the feeling that sometimes for me, I'm a little bit behind with my motion, but it's fine because these are big decisions that have a big and great effect upon my life and the loved ones. And of course, it was very hard. They asked me not to leave, and I've been dealing with a lot of feelings inside and outside, and friends, and will I see these people again after seeing them so often?
Right.
And what would I do? La la la, and all of that. But nobody knows what will they do.
Right.
I was always enjoying teaching, and teaching is one aspect which teaching sounds very. Yeah, it always taught me about myself. We learned so much from having this money time, 5 seconds or 12 seconds, to put in words how we want that something, how we think of something, and transfer it to another human being to be able to understand something of what you said and implement it in their body and mind. So through that, which is something I've never done, I did in the Orchestra Academy, but this has always kept me somehow like a mirror for myself.
Would you share with us a favorite memory of a past performance?
Of mine, I have so many. It's really ridiculous. I have so many rehearsals where I just sit and I think, wow, this is why am I doing it? This. And some others where concerts where I sit and I don't understand why am I doing it. But I remember in one tour in Australia, I sat in Sydney in the 12 cellists concert. All of the group of the cellos have a wonderful ensemble, and if you don't know it, do go and get to know it. They have 12 cellos. It's amazing. It's almost like 12 oboists, but really it's such a huge range, and they sit in a half circle on stage, and they played wonderful program, and they played Fauré, Pavane by Fauré. And I just listened to that in the audience, and I was in tears. It was one of those moments I let myself completely enjoy to tears from that. And doesn't have to be any explanation of why do I feel like that and why does the body react like that, or I understand something here and it understands me and we're somehow holding hands. Maybe it was after a little bit wine in the sun, but
Were you inspired to take out your vacuum cleaner and your baton?
I was clean, of course.
We always like to ask the question, what advice do you have for a young musician who aspires to have a career like yours? And one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the podcast is because I think you're a really important example of how we are allowed to change over time we're allowed to define for ourselves what we want, and our concept of success is allowed to change over time. And I think that's really important because we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves as classical musicians, and we can allow tradition or the field to define success for us. And so I feel like you yourself, just your life is great advice, but I wonder if you can offer any advice for young musicians who might be listening to this interview.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the compliment. It's nice to hear. You don't have to leave anything behind you. We don't gain anything if we play a good concert, and we don't get judged if we do not get an audition. I do believe that people change. I do believe that people, if they want, they change. And only thing I can start doing is to change myself. Talking about the surroundings. So first of all, surround yourself with the spaces and people and level that you want. Always surprise yourself. Before you know it, surprise yourself. And it means trying. Today in the lesson we were trying vibrato from the jaw and not from normal places, and listen to whatever comes, and then let yourself go and fool around. Do not take anything serious. Nothing, it's all a game. And the funny thing is to look at people that take it seriously. And be nice with yourself. Just be nice with yourself.
Is there anything coming up for you that you would like to tell our listeners about?
There is a nice recording. I just recorded with my father's orchestra, which will come out at one point. With the Rossini concerto. It was a live concert, and also there I'm very happy we took a take where not necessarily playing the right just the score, but just I guess you can feel a little bit the whole feeling of that. And about me, I don't know. Let's see what happens. I have also so many hobbies except bassoon, So many things. Hard to just stay doing that.
Mor, thank you so much for spending your precious time with us. This was just so inspiring and invigorating, and we just can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much, both of you. It was a lovely message to read, to get the invitation, and I'm very happy about this. That we found the time to do that. Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed that contemplative episode of Double Reed Dish. I hope there's like a rainy window for you to look out with your chin on your fist as you listen.
And a nice warm mug of tea.
Yeah, it has to be tea. This isn't a coffee episode. It's a
That's
tea.
Right.
Maybe herbal tea?
Definitely a chamomile.
Yes.
A sleepy time.
Side note, there was a show I watched as a child, and one of the characters pronounced it chamomile. It was a Canadian show, so maybe some of our Canadian listeners can tell us if Canadians pronounce chamomile. That's a little bit of a left turn from the rest of the content of this episode, but please like and follow on social media, and don't forget to go check out the results of the Halloween redecorating contest, and to not forget to join us for the next episode. Galit, who's going to be featured on that episode?
We had an amazing talk with Abby Yeakel-Held, oboe associated faculty at The Ohio State University. So, Jackie, time to end this nerd parade.
I don't have to make reeds because I already made some reeds this morning, but I'm going to go test them.
Now I want you to make me some reeds.
I will never do that.